All right, are you guys ready? This is literally the last sewing step. And then after this, you just take your pens out and you can go cozy up and watch a movie. A couple things before we get started. One, check your bobbin. Make sure you have a lot of it left. Nothing's worse than taking the first pass at your binding and then starting your second pass only to run out of your bobbin. Second, change your presser foot to the clear presser foot. We want to be able to see what's going on. And we can do that with the clear one. Threads back. We're going to line up here somewhere in the middle. I'm going to show you close to the edge so I can show you a corner real quick. But if you notice, I'm going to bring, my hand is in the way, bring this around, and then I want this edge, we want to stitch as close to this edge as possible, kind of in a top stitching format. So like 1/8 of an inch on the inside, right along to where this stitching seam is. So you just kind of eyeball where you think you're going to want it. Load it in. Usually it's about a quarter off a 1/4 inch of this, but you see how the arrow, whoop, see how the little arrow, I can line it up exactly where I want it to go. And then I'm going to start with my needle in just so I can kind of get myself situated and not worry about losing my position. And then you want to make this nice and straight. Go slow. There's no rush here, no rush at all. So we're just going to go in here, slowly go along right at the edge. A lot of times I try to find a spot on my presser foot that gives me consistency, especially with my top stitching. So for me, when I'm top stitching, I usually will match this edge of the arrow to the edge of the fabric. And that gives very consistent top stitching along the way. What you don't want to do is kind of, you can see that this would start to roll here. You don't want to do that. So don't force it. You can kind of nudge it over. But that's where the rolling comes into play. So just very slowly go along. And then as you get towards the end, just kind of start smoothing it out. So you start making that point so you don't get yourself in a pickle, kind of like painting into the corner of a room. You want to make sure you're prepared a few inches ahead of schedule. So when you're here now, you're not trying to finagle this, and you just kind of line it up, pull it over to the center. If you need help getting the point, just take a pin in here and see how that can kind of smooth out that point. And then you're just going to come along. If you need to pin it, you can. Watch your presser foot. It has a tendency to catch right here. See how it's catching? I might lift this up and realign it. Pop it down. If you want, you can definitely do a little bit of a back stitch here just to make sure you get that anchored. Needle down and in, and then the same concept applies, and we turn, rotate. This is a great way to hide some of your loose threads that are fraying, and then we reline it up again. Get started. You can kind of auto correct as you go to get back on your line, or sometimes you might just be perfect on it. And then we just keep going all the way around the quilt. And then, my friends, you are done. And look, see how the top stitching comes into play here. And then on the back side, it should just kind of start to, here's the top stitching, and then on the back side, it'll just start to come right along. A lot of times it'll be right along here. Another way you can quilt it or is bind is to do hand quilting on here. I may put a link to that. I don't hand quilt. I just can't. I can't do the needle and thread thing. I know my grandma is probably scolding me from above, but I can't do it. So I like to machine bind.